Hello. Last time we had the field, we created this field to start building our structure. This time we're going to learn how to create the structure importing a drawing and how to attach some staircase to it and make everything continuous, closing the gaps between surfaces and curves to create a solid. So the first thing we're going to do is let's go ahead and hide this layer and get rid of this drawing for now, which is the drawing that we used to draw our part. Let me see if I can find which drawing is that. There you go. So we're gonna bring our surface back, which was this surface, right? And what we're gonna do is we're gonna import a drawing to build on top of it. So for that, we can basically go to view layout, viewport layout, import the drawing. Um, but that's if you have a drawing. If you don't have a drawing, you can either draw something with a pencil and then scan it to give you an idea of how to bring the drawing or the image into Rhino. I'm gonna create a line. So shift straight, enter, and then Control C, Control V. Let me check if I can move that. Nope, I don't want to do that. Let's try again. I'm gonna draw a line from here to here, enter, and then I'm gonna do Control C, Control V. Control C, Control V. All right, so this is pretty much how you can create a figure, right? And then you can even bring the whole thing back down here if you want it. Control C, Control V, and then you can group them, etc. Okay, so this is a very simple image of a structure or a building, whatever, right? You can even, as I said, you can draw this with a pencil on a piece of paper, and then you can just scan it and bring it up to Illustrator. So I'm going to use the top view. So I'm going to go ahead and do import the picture, open, and then it's going to ask me for a point here, a second point there, but I don't know how big that is, which is okay. All right. So far that looks pretty big, so I'm not sure if I'm gonna like that size. Let us check the size. So let's do a new layer and let's call this structure. Okay, this is gonna be black. Okay, so if I go to my top view and I create a line, shift to intersection, select that curve. Okay, which by the way I need to bring that curve into my new layer, which is right here on these layers. Click, double click there, and now the layer is on the right. The drawing is on the right layer. The line is on the right layer, which I want it to be under the structure layer. Okay, but to select the line, you go to Analyze, you say Length. This is 128.66. So if I want it to be 50 feet, so remember we're working with feet, 128.66. So that means that I have to multiply it by 0.388. All right, so what we're gonna do next, and let's go to this layer right here, is I can get rid of this line now if you want. I'm gonna do scale. Object to scale is this one. Enter. First point is this one. Enter. Second is this one. Enter. And the point that we're gonna bring down to scale it down is 0.38, which that was extremely small. Let's try it again. Scale. This one. Enter. And so, oh, there you go. So now I'll bring the 138. There you go. I didn't have to choose both points because when you choose both points, now automatically you use the mouse to scale, which is not very precise. So what you need to do is just choose one point and scale it down. So now this should be around 50 feet, and we can double check. It doesn't have to be exact in my case. I just want it to be a little closer to 50 feet. Right, if I do analyze length, which I didn't end up need to create the line first. Enter. Now select the line, the curve, analyze length. It's around 48 feet. Perfect. That's pretty close. That's how I want my that's the size of what I want. Okay, so I'm gonna still use this drawing. I'm going to check my field. I'm trying to remember where my field went. It's not the contour, it's not that. I'm trying to remember my, there you go, that's my field. Right, so it's okay that is not completely, that is completely covered. I'm just gonna go ahead and draw my structure first. Okay, so for that, I can create a polyline or I can create an ellipse, which in fact I'm gonna create an ellipse. So I come here, I'm gonna do first point, shift, second point, and perimeter. That is pretty close. So select the curve, offset, and inside I can do an offset of 1 feet. That's, yeah, that's pretty close. Okay, excellent. So if you notice now, I can actually go back to this field or this image because I want to be able to see my drawing, my lines and my curves. So on top of this layer, I'm gonna go to properties and to material, transparency around 80%. And now I should be able to see my lines. Now we can see the lines or the curves that we're going to choose and select. And we're gonna do a Control C and Control V. If we go to the top view or the right view, we can move them up and down certain distances. So for that, in order to know how much distance we're gonna move up or down, we're gonna go to Tools, Options, Modeling Aids, Notch, and with your cursor and your with your keyboard, with your up and down arrow and left and right, you're gonna move 1 feet. If you do Control and arrows, you're gonna do 0.083 feet, which is an inch. And if you do shift and the arrows, is gonna be 10 feet. You can move this to any dimensions that you want, but this is how I like. And again, this is under options, from tools, options, modeling aids, notch. Okay, so now I have that selected, and I'm going to do solid, extrude planar curve straight, and I can do both directions, or depending on what I want. I can do, let's go ahead and check my layers again. If I bring my field, let's go ahead and do dark gray. Yeah, I probably want to do something like this. Both directions, yes. All right, I like that distance right there. That is above my field. And actually, if I want to move it, I can just select a part and drag. In fact, I'm gonna bring this to my structure layer. So that's the whole reason I created that structure layer, right? Select that so that I can get rid of these two things. But we're gonna need this as well in case we wanna keep extruding. So let's go back and Control Z and let's select everything. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna hide this. We're gonna select everything. Okay, we're gonna bring this thing to our structure, and now we can go back to our structure layer and show our field. Okay, good. Now when we move this object with the curves and everything, we can try to get all my curves. Now there you go. And now I can move everything to some part around the field. Okay, that's good enough. Another thing we can do is we can actually close this gap by going to surface, and we're gonna do extrude curve straight. Let me check it where that was created. Select curves to extrude. I need to select this one, enter, but we need to be perpendicular, so never mind. Let's do it again. Surface, extrude curve straight. Oh, in fact, what we need to do is surface planar curve. There you go. Oh, that's what we need to do, planar curve. If we do a straight curve surface, we're gonna extrude along the axis of the extrusion, which is not what we want. Now we have this base or floor for this particular structure. We have the shape of the structure, and now we can create the stairwell or the staircase. For that, we can go ahead and create with a single line. We're gonna go to this point. We're gonna do, in fact, let's do a single line and vertical. And we're gonna do vertical half a feet, so 0.5 feet. But we're gonna do down. So go down, enter, and then we should be able to have a curve right there. And then we're gonna do another curve, and we're gonna do orthogonal because we want it to be straight. And we're gonna do 15, let's do 12 inches or 20 inches. So since we're working with feet, we can just type IN, no space, and that will create 20 inches. Enter. Then we can just click on that one that we just created and the curve that we had before, and then we can join them. We know how to join them right now. And then we can do a array, transform array linear. So that's the part, enter. The next point is going to be the beginning. The next point is going to be the end. How many we want. So let's check how many we want. Yeah, that sums are either we extend the surface, the tread, or we create a bunch of steps, which is what we're going to do. So enter. So we're going to select this part, but to make sure we don't select the surface, let's go ahead and do another thing, which is how to select the part we just created, which we go to edit, and we're going to go to select objects, last created objects. And now, since we had the first item selected, now it's going to be, everything's going to be created, everything's going to be selected, and we can join them. So in fact, if we do edit, select objects, last created objects, and then why it's not showing, let's do again, edit, select objects, last created objects, there you go, and now shift with this, we can join. Good. From here we can create the staircase by going to solid, straight, extrude, planar curve, straight, and in this case we just have to type whatever dimension we want. If we want to go both sides, yes. If we do 2 feet, it's a little too narrow. If we do 3, that's okay. Again, I'm making up the dimensions. It's not extremely important to me. The gap right here, though, could be fixed by a simple planar surface. So let's go ahead and do a line, a polyline. And if we do orthoplanar, we're gonna keep the same line, the same plane, I'm sorry. And actually we can go to top. And top, we can make sure that we are perpendicular to that stair or that surface right there. I'm gonna choose that curve. Let's go ahead and do a control point curve. Well, actually, before that, let's go ahead and do a mirror of that point with a middle point. Enter. And now we can create a polycurve or a curve with control points. And we can generate the curve with those 3 points. Enter. And now we have that curve, the 2 curves that we had created, and the 4th curve we have to create to extrude the surface. In that case, we're going to use this point and that point. Now we can choose all the curves, not that curve. We have to select the right curve, which is going to be that one, this one, this perpendicular one, and that curve right there. Now we can join them. And now we can do a surface planar curve. So if we go to extrude curve, straight, I don't think I want to do that. Let me see what straight curve will do. Yeah, that will give it a thickness, and I don't really want another step right there. So I'm gonna do solid planar curve, straight. No, I want to do a surface from planar curve. which is right here, and that must have created the planar curve. Yeah. So that's correct. I just wanted to do a surface with a planar curve, which I don't see it created. So let's do it again. Surface, planar curve. No faces were made. Okay, let me see why. Oh, I see why, because this is not the point that I wanted to choose. Let's try again. In that case, we're going to get rid of that object right there. So let's select again. And let's go back to, perhaps if we use a plane, it will be a little easier, I think. Let's see. Let's try one more time, and if not, we'll have to create a plane. So straight with from the top view, we can do it straight down with perpendicular. Well, just holding shift will be okay. And until we see intersection. So let's click intersection. And that's a good point right there. And we make sure that it's on the surface, which it is. Let's do another one here. And then it will be at this point. Enter. That point is also good. Now we do a point with curves, or a control point curve. We're going to choose that point, this point, and that point. Enter. It's okay that it's not exactly on the same surface, that's not a problem. But we still need another point though, which will be from this curve. Let's go ahead and join these curves first. Shift, Shift, join. And let's do another curve from here to here. And edit, select objects, last created object, that's the curve. With that curve, join. Now they're on the same surface, I believe. Right, so now it should be much easier to create with surface and planar curve. Right, so we didn't need the plane after all, but we do, I think we will need a plane for here, for this point when we create the rail, which we're gonna do next. Let's do the rail right there. So in order to create the rail on that part of the staircase, let's go ahead and use a plane. So if we go to C planes, which the cool thing about the planes in Rhino is that you can move them very easy. It's not like SolidWorks where you have to create a point with a distance or a set of points. Here you basically just choose the plane on the direction or the normal to the direction you want. So for instance, that plane will not be, let me see, let's see if you can notice what I mean. You can decipher what I want to do right here. So that plane is not going to be on this, it's not going to be parallel to the stairs. For instance, this one will, but it's not located at the point I want. So I located the plane, which is this one. What I need to do is move it from the set origin. So now, when I come to a point that I want to set my origin to, if you notice now the plane is on that origin. Okay, it's a little hard to, it's difficult to see, but you can see that it's right there on that origin. Okay, so let's go ahead and draw on that plane. So if we click on planar snap, which I do, and we create a polycurve, and we choose this point and that point, and don't click on the point, just hit tab, and that will extend to wherever we want to have our staircase. Okay, which is going to be, let's say here, and that's okay. So let's do it again. We have already selected the plane. We're going to create a polycurve, and it's going to be the second point is right there. So hit tab, and we want it to be, let's say there, enter. So since we want to create, let's say, a surface instead of just a rail, we're going to go and move that 2 feet up, which that seems to be okay. And then we are going to go ahead and create the polycurve from there. So straight down. In fact, let's go ahead and start from here. So if you choose this line right here, polyline, and you go to the right plane, you hit shift, then we can do there, and let me go ahead and try something else. So polyline from that point down, okay, and there, and I'm gonna have to trim it. Let's go ahead and do from that point to that point intersection, enter, and now we just do a trim, and we're going to use this line to cut this line, enter, and now we just simply select everything, and well, select everything with shift and join, type join, or click this right here. So now when we already did this, we already know how to do this from before. If we go ahead and do surface extrude straight, now we don't need both ways, we just need one side, and let's do 0.7 feet. I think that's enough, that's okay. And we already know how to do this one too, so we're gonna do that curve, we're gonna do surface, planar curve, there you go. That one and that one we should be able to join, okay, that's good. Well, if you want this one, perhaps we should be able to do Control Z before we join, and we create this one too. Using this curve, we're going to do surface planar curve. Let me see, perhaps, let me try again. Perhaps if I do solid planar curve straight, but if I say both sides no, solid yes. Output is going to be a surface 0.7, but it's not creating a whole solid, which is not exactly what I want. Let's see, if I choose this right here and I say surface patch, no, it's not going to patch it. Let's go ahead and do curve. So we already know how to do this one. We can just do planar curve. From this curve, we can do surface, extrude curve. How can I close that? Well, the question is why it didn't want to create a solid. So it's like something's not closed. And if I do extrude curve, it's gonna do it straight, which is not exactly what I want. And if I do planar curve, it's not going to close it. So I wonder what is going on here. What is going on here? This is through this point. Yes. Solid extrude surface. No, I want straight. Okay, now we did it. So I'm not sure why I didn't do it before. Okay. Um, so now we have a solid here, which is exactly what I wanted. And in order to move these with a mirror, we have to move this plane back to its original place. So I'm gonna go world top, which is where it was. This is the plane that we were working with before. Remember, we had to move it over here to be able to create this part of the staircase. Now we're gonna do a mirror. We're gonna click on this one, enter the middle point, enter, and that is more or less what we want. Okay, sure that we can always fix that with a sidewalk or something. Now the other thing that we can do is, that's why I wanted to keep the curves, because if you notice with these curves right here, and actually it should be two curves, yeah, this one and that one. So what I did is I wrote hide, I select everything. Now if I want to do show everything, I just click show. Again, if you want to hide stuff, you just click on the parts that you want to hide and click and type hide, or look for objects hide. But I recommend learning as many commands as you can. All right, so here we're gonna do a Control C, Control V, and we're gonna move with Shift. We're gonna move up. Whoops, let's go to top, because I don't know what's going on there with that plane. So click on Shift. That's a little weird. Curve. Let's go ahead and do it again. The curve and curve. Yep. Control C, Control V. 1, 2, 3, 4. That should be good. And now we're gonna do a surface extrude again. Extrude planar curve straight up to here. Okay. But now we want to be able to have access to the structure from the staircase, correct? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna set another plane right here, which we go to C planes. Let's look for the plane. That one is exactly the same plane I want. I'm gonna move it to this point. So I have my plane right there where I want the extrusion. So if I create a polyline, I should be able to create a polyline from here, shift up, shift, then enter, line again, from that point to this point, shift up. In fact, I just remembered that we could actually use a rectangle, because we have this point here and we can use that point there and use this as a, yeah, let's use that as a construction line. So let's use a line, vertical, let's say from here to, let's say, line, shift here, and then we're going to do a rectangle from here to, from this point to this point. Excellent. Right, so now using this rectangle, select the whole rectangle, and we're going to do, just want to double check, yeah, I think it's going to work perfect. And where we're going to do, let's get rid of this line, select this rectangle, and then we're going to do extrude Or again, surface, sorry, solid, extrude planar curve, straight, both sides, yes. And we just want to go through that surface right here, through this solid right here. So we know how to do this by now. We are going to do a Boolean subtract. So we're going to subtract from this part, enter this part, enter. And we don't need this anymore, so hide. We don't need any more, hide. So that is how you create the entryway, correct? Now, from previous videos, we learned how to create a um, circular mirror or an array, or a polar array better. And you can do that to create vertical structures here if you want to keep going to maybe create a roof or a ceiling or something. But this is basically the concept behind creating a structure on a field, right? So this is the part that you can work on getting the sidewalk or adding more details to the structure. But this is basically how you would create your outdoors buildings and how you create your fields.